I don't know about you guys, but hand sanding is probably my least favorite activity to do in the wood shop. So to make the job a little bit easier, I went ahead and made myself this neat little sanding block today. With the sanding block that I made, the sandpaper is held down to the sanding block with this top block of wood, which is secured with a nut. I have a really nice piece of scrap maple that I'm going to use for this project, and the very first thing I need to do is flatten one face, and we'll do that at the joiner. Now that I have that first face nice and flat by running it over the joiner, I can go ahead and make the opposite face parallel to the first by running it through the planer. I tilted my table saw blade to about 8 degrees so that I can form a bevel on one side of my push block. Then I'll go ahead and spin the push block around and form a bevel on the opposite side, and at the same time cutting the push block to final width. Now I'll just cut this sanding block to 5.5 inches long, which is half the length of a sheet of sandpaper. At the drill press, I need a countersink for a carriage bolt, which is going to be used to tighten down the sandpaper. By pounding our 1/4-inch carriage bolt into the 1/4-inch hole that we form a square recess which prevents the carriage bolt from spinning. Now with the carriage bolt inserted in the sanding block, I'm going to take a piece of 1/4-inch MDF, which was cut to the same width as the sanding block, and just glue it onto the bottom to cover up that hole. For the top of the sanding block, I took a block of maple and drilled a hole right in the middle. I intentionally left the block of wood oversized so that I could mark the location for its width once the two are sandwiched together. When the sandpaper is attached to the sanding block, it's going to wrap around and it's going to come inside to about right here. So ideally, I would like to have most of the force exerted on the outside portion of the top as it clamps down. So what I plan on doing is removing a little bit of material from the inside of the top of the sanding block at the router table by using a mortising bit, and we'll do that next. Rounding over the corners of the top with an 1/8 inch radius roundover bit will make this a little bit easier to handle. Because I used an undersized Forstner bit to create the recess for the nut, I needed to remove that remaining material. And I found the best way to do that is to place the knob on the bolt followed by the nut, and then just take a marking knife and mark all the way around the nut, and then just use a sharp chisel to take it all the way to your mark. All you need to do is take your sandpaper that's been cut to the right size ahead of time and just wrap it around the body of the block. The way I would usually hand sand is just to take a little section of sandpaper and a block of wood, and then just fold the sandpaper over the block of wood and pinch the sandpaper with your fingers. But after a while, your fingers might start to get a little tired if you're doing a lot of hand sanding. So I think there's an easier way. And it really makes hand sanding a lot easier. Now because I beveled the sides of the sanding block, if you needed to get the inside corner of your work, you could easily do that. Now if I were to make this sanding block again, something I would change is that I wouldn't make the bottom portion of the sanding block so thick. That way you won't have all this wasted sandpaper on each side of the sanding block. But if I wanted to, I could use the side of the sanding block to sand the edges of boards pretty easily. Thanks for watching, guys. Now, if you get a chance, check out my website at garagewoodworks.com. You can also watch last week's video by clicking on this link. And be sure to check in next week for another project. Thanks again, guys.